Gentlemen, today's video is purposefully ironic. I've been trying for however long now to make one of these videos for you guys, and the words that I'm trying to get out are just simply not coming out. Now, the reason I say this is because in such trial and tribulation, I have found what I feel is genuinely something valuable to speak about today. It is all too easy when we're trying to work towards something and we're trying to get better at things to not afford ourselves any room for error at all. I can feel myself getting more and more irritated because I'm trying to get something out and it just won't come out. And what I'm failing to see is that sometimes the goalposts just have to be moved. We are all too easy on self-improvement to not forgive ourselves for any mistakes, not let ourselves make any errors because we're so focused on getting towards something. And while this is a fantastic trait to have and a way to be, it can also be something that can drive you to be very irritated with yourself and not pleased with what it is that you're actually doing. Take, for instance, what I'm doing today. There is no part of me that is feeling, oh, well done for still going forward, still trying, even though you're getting irritated. More so, I'm feeling more and more annoyed at the fact that what I was trying to get out, I couldn't get out. Now, the reason I feel this is so important to talk about is because it's so easy to discredit yourself on self-improvement. It's so easy to be working towards all the right things and going in the right direction, doing all the right things for yourself, and still not be able to give yourself that pat on the back or that congratulations or that you to you hug that you so desperately need to stay on the path. It's so important that you give yourself the right amount of care and nurture and recognition for your efforts, even if they're not accomplishments. It's so important to do this because it's really what makes the difference between you continuing on the path and going where you want to go with something and you just getting pissed off and going, oh, fuck this, I can't be bothered. It's so easy in the self-improvement world to do this because it's just one long road of trial and tribulation. And in the course of that, if you aren't your own best friend and you don't keep yourself kind of controlled and mediated as best as you can, you're going to have a difficult time because it's a difficult path. And whilst we're on the point, I think it's all too easy to judge ourselves, have this kind of round estimate of what it is that we're capable of doing, what we can do, what we can output, what we should be expecting of ourselves. And what we do in turn of having this understanding is we have a bar set that is the minimum that must be reached at all times. We don't afford any room for change of circumstance. We might have a difficult thing going on in our private lives, or there might be an injury going on that inhibits you from going to the gym and doing as well as you could. Or it might just be something as simple as you're in the winter months and it's just not you're not working with the jubilance that comes from being in the sun all the time. You're working against the grain with the difficulty of it being cold and gloomy and grey outside. And we can use these two. You can have your best optimal version as the benchmark, and we can have the version of us that is performing in polar opposite scenarios and with nowhere near as many advantages and help. And we put ourselves on the same level with these things. It's like you have to perform at one steady level that constantly increases. And we provide ourselves with no room for understanding of circumstance. It is integral that you remind yourself and make yourself aware of the fact that sometimes you just can't perform to the same level. For whatever reason, there will be something that's in the way, or you might just be too tired. You might be there will be something that is a perfectly viable reason for your performance to not be so good, or for you to not be able to do something today. And it's something that gets progressively more and more irritating for me with the self-improvement industry, is that there's no room for error. It's as though you have to do this amount of work all the time, and there's no, you're constantly being pushed with this idea that you have to keep motoring on, no room for error. And I'm here to tell you that it's simply not the case. Really, the way to improve and the way to get better at things is to understand yourself to the point where you can afford yourself a day off or a lesser performance and be able to understand the difference between laziness and realism. If you're really not feeling like going to the gym, and normally you could bench however much, just throw out however much, a great number of weight that you can bench. If you can really do something great most of the time, and then all of a sudden life has changed and things feel so difficult to even begin doing, trust me, if you can get in the gym in the first place, it is of equal measure of win. You're proving to yourself that no matter what, you can still go and do these things. And even if you can't perform to the same level, you can still get somewhere. I think it's so easy to have yourself in this kind of estimation where you have to perform to this best optimal level, provide yourself with no room for error, and then not give yourself any credit for even trying. This is something that I've done for a long time, is if I can do 40 push-ups on my best day, and today I really just don't even want to do them, and I do 20, that's a failure to me. I feel like that's a bad thing, when in actual fact, you can twist the perspective so significantly and say, well, you didn't even want to do them, and you still did. You did 20 more than you even thought about doing. How much of an achievement is that? And I think the point that I'm really trying to get through today, as I direct all of my personal irritation into the camera, is performance is a long-term thing. It's incremental. And really, the most important thing with this is not the day-to-day work, it's the year work. It's what you've done over the entire period of time. Now, of course, the day is made of years. You have to do the work in the days to make the year. But if one day you're just really not there, it's not clicking, that doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I've found myself, and I know that there are other people with this, I live with this impending sense of constantly being chased forward. It's like I have to keep on motoring forward, keep on going, because otherwise you're gonna fall short, and the one day that you didn't do something, everyone is gonna start running past you, and you can't have any rest, you can't make any mistakes, because once you sit and hold position for one moment, everyone is just going to take off in front of you, and you're going to be left behind, and you're going to be behind the curve. There is this constant sense with a lot of people that you have to always have that foot on the gas to the fucking ground and always be going for it. And honestly, if there's one thing that I can tell you, this is a fantastic trait to have because it makes you work, but you have to know how to mediate it. You have to know that you're not a failure because you didn't do some arbitrary amount of work on one day. You're not a failure because you took one day just to relax and do nothing and not have your value so fixed into how much work you're outputting. You're not a failure if you do that. You're not someone who is somehow less valuable because you haven't produced as much work for one day. This video was mainly, to be honest, this video was somewhat made for me. But as with everything that I do, I hope that it helps someone else. And what I'll leave you with, because I think I've got the anger and the point across as much as I can, is don't beat yourself up for making mistakes. Just try again. Don't sit and feel like one error or one lapse or one moment of weakness defines you as your character. It is important to note that if you're someone who recognizes weakness in yourself, that is indicative, and to me it screams the fact that you're someone of value. You're someone who understands what it means to perform to a certain level. And with that, you know what you're capable of. And to me, that tells exactly that you're not what you think you are. You think like you're someone who is lazy just because you didn't do something for one day. But the fact that you know what it feels like to... If you can judge yourself thinking you're a lazy person, then to me, you're not a lazy person. You understand what it means to work, because otherwise you wouldn't get the chasm that's between being lazy and being someone who works hard. People that are genuinely lazy don't know that they're lazy because they are lazy. They don't have the thought. They don't care for it. If you're someone that feels, oh, I'm so lazy, it's actually quite likely, in my perspective, that actually you do a lot of work and you chip away at a lot of things, and just it's become the norm to such an extent that you don't even consider what you do work or progress anymore. And whilst we're on the point, it's important to note that on one of those days that you might say that you've done nothing, if you're someone who's improving, it is all but certain that you have done a lot more than most people. And that certainly counts for something. So with that being said, gentlemen, crack on, cut yourself some slack sometimes, and push forward as best as you can.